We are the products of our past, but we don't have to be the prisoners of it. Study the past if you define the future. We can draw lessons from the past, but we cannot live in it. Hi students, how are you? My name is Noor Azman Ezwan, and you can call me Sir Azman, and I'm from Smk Changlun. Did you notice that at the beginning of our lesson, I read a few quotations from famous people about not to look into our past? Well, today, I feel that we have to look at the past, but in a different way. How? The past simple tense, or you can call the simple past tense. Before we start, let's have a look at our learning objectives. At the end of the lesson, students will be able to: number 1, define the meaning of past simple. Number 2, differentiate between regular and irregular verb. Number 3, learn the other forms of past simple, which are a negative and questions form. Now, let's have a look at our content standard. This one is taken from our DSKP. 4.1. Identify and use language structures appropriately according to context. Let's have a look at our learning standards. 4.5.1. 4.1.5. Identify and use verbs appropriately according to context. Number 1, regular verbs. Number 2, irregular verbs. Before we start, let's have a look at our learning. Before we start, let's have a look at these sentences. I walked to school yesterday. He slept at his girlfriend's house last night. We sat under a shady tree last weekend. They went for a holiday to Perth last year. Now, students, can you tell me what is the similarity between these sentences? You are absolutely right. These sentences are in past simple tense. In this class, you will learn about what is past simple tense. We use past simple to talk about things that happened in the past. We use this tense so often to talk about all kinds of things, because this is one of the most exciting and important tense in the series of English verb tenses. We can use to tell someone what you did yesterday, and you can use also to tell somebody what happened in the world 500 years ago. Thus, whatever you want to describe that happens before now, you can use past simple. So are you with me now? Are you ready to learn this tense? Let's start now. How can you use the past simple tense? First, the use of certain time expressions in the sentence, like yesterday, last night, last weekend, last year, and many more. For example, I walked to school yesterday. So we know that this sentence is a past tense because the use of yesterday. Can you give me other examples using the time expressions? Second, the use of regular or irregular verbs in the form of past simple tense, like walk, slept, sat, went, and many more. For example, he slept at his friend's house last night. Simple, isn't it? Notice that I mentioned about regular and irregular verbs in my previous slide. Well, what are they? Let's start with regular verbs. Regular verbs are verbs that are converted to past simple tense by just adding d, ed, ied, to the base form. Base form is the original form of the verb. For example, most spellings of the verbs do not change. We have to remember that. Most spelling, not all. For example, love becomes loved. Wait become waited. Cry becomes cried. And the last one, stop, become stops. Here are the other examples of regular verb. By adding D to the verb, we have bake becomes baked, dance becomes danced, lie becomes lied, like becomes liked, and many more. Next, by adding ed, clean becomes clean, climb becomes climbed, cook becomes cooked, and so on. Next, we have by adding IED. This category falls on when the verb ends with Y. For example, here, bury becomes buried, carry becomes carried, cry becomes cried, dry becomes dried, fry becomes fried, and so on. And the last one, by adding consonant ed. For example, chop becomes chopped, clap becomes clapped, drop becomes dropped, mop becomes mopped, and so on. You have to double the consonant. Let's have a look at the sentence. They wash their father's car together. And number 2, the baby cried just now. Do I make myself clear now? Now, let's have a look at how to use the regular verbs in sentences. Look at the table here. The noun can be either singular or plural forms. It doesn't matter. We have they, we, you, I, he, she, and it. And on the second row of the table, danced, jumped, cried, stopped, and read at the park yesterday. So to make a sentence, they danced at the park yesterday. I cried at the park yesterday. She read books at the park yesterday. Remember, the subject can be either singular or plural form. It doesn't matter. Now, in order to check your understanding of regular verbs, let's do the exercise together. If you are a teacher watching this lesson, this exercise is suitable for intermediate and beginner level of students. For advanced level, teacher can omit the suggested verbs in the bracket and put them in separated box jumbled up. Let's have a look at number 1. You, blank space, the plants. We have water here. So the answer is watered. Just add ed. Number 2. We, blank space, a twin room in the hotel. So the verb is book. The answer is yes, booked. Just add ed. And so on. Alright? Now, students, we are going to move on to the second element, which is irregular verb. There are 200 regular verbs in English. It's easy to say that irregular verbs have a unique simple past forms. The most common form is the change of only one vocal or consonant of its base form or its original form. Let's have a look at an example. On the left side, drink is the original verb. So for irregular verbs, the past tense becomes drank. Drive becomes drove. Write becomes wrote. And the last one, give becomes gave. Notice that the only change is the consonant. On the right side, we have send becomes sent. Make becomes made. Has or have becomes had. And the last one, say becomes said. If you notice here that the only change made is the consonant. Alright? However, some irregular verbs change its base form totally. For example, here, go becomes went. Do becomes did. See becomes saw. Eat becomes ate. Think becomes thought. And the last one, teach become taught. Alright, it's a total change. Finally, there are verbs which does not change its spelling at all. The spelling remains the same. For example, cut becomes cut also. Hurt becomes hurt also. Put becomes put. Let becomes let. And the last one, read becomes read. Alright, for read, the spelling is the same for the past simple, but the pronunciation is different. Read, read. I read books today. I read books yesterday. Alright? Let's have a look at the exercise on how to do irregular verbs. Again, if you are a teacher, this exercise is suitable for intermediate and beginner level of students. For the advanced level, teacher can omit the options of the verb or just provide the verbs only for students to create their own sentences. Alright? Let's try it together. Number 1. Judy, blank space, a solo during the concert. So, for the options we have sing, sing, and sang. In order for us to answer, we have sang. Alright? The answer is sang. Sing becomes sang. So Judy sang a solo during the concert. Number 2. Jen and Todd, blank space, happy to see us. Which one do you think is the answer? Is, was, or were? The answer is were happy to see us. You can do it on your own later. Sometimes, students ask me, how do you know the answer? My answer, my advice would be, you students need to observe and take note when you hear native speakers speak or when you read reliable resource of English material. You have to remember, there is no shortcut, there is no other ways. You get me now? Next, the negative form of past simple. For the negative form of past simple, we only need to use the past form of do not, which is did not in the past tense, or didn't, and combine with the infinitive or the base form of the verb. Alright, let's give you an example. I didn't eat dinner last night. You see, didn't there, and then after didn't, just go with the base form, eat. I didn't eat dinner last night. I did eat dinner last night. I didn't eat dinner last night. She didn't come to work last week. She did come to work last week. She didn't come to work last week. Alright, that's a negative form. Next, they didn't like novels. And the last one, John didn't finish his dessert. No matter the subject is singular or plural, after the verb didn't, you just put the base form. Alright? Let's look at the figure here for you to more understand. The negative, subject plus didn't plus infinitive or the base form. Alright? Subject can be I, she, he, she, it, we, you, they, and the word didn't applies to all. Then we can put our verb play, work, or watch, just in base form. Do you understand me now? Let's do the exercise. Here we have the past simple negatives exercise. The sentence given here is a positive form, and you have to write the sentences below in the negative forms. I've given an example for number 1. He went to school yesterday. Alright, the positive one. So the negative, he didn't go to school yesterday. Alright, you cannot use he didn't went to school yesterday. It's not right. Alright, he didn't go, the base form, to school yesterday. Let's try number 2. They ate lunch at the cafeteria. So, what is the negative form of the verbs? Ate. Alright, so they didn't eat lunch at the cafeteria. Alright, it you have to change to eat because we have the verb did there. Alright, and so on. You have to do it on yourself now. Next is the last form of past simple, which is the interrogative or the questions form. For the questions forms of past simple, we only need to use the past form of do again, which is did, at the beginning of the sentence and combine with the infinitive base form of the verb. For example, did you enjoy our lesson last week? Did you enjoy? You have to again use the base form. Number 2, did he find his missing balls? Remember, if the noun, the subject is singular, the verb still you have to use the base form. Alright? Did he find? You not did he finds. No, it doesn't sound right. Alright? Did he find his missing balls? This his missing ball. Number 3, did Jamal come to school yesterday? Did Jamal come to school yesterday? Yes, he did. No, he didn't. That's how you answer. And the last one, did they get any fish? Yes, they did. No, they didn't. Let's have a look at figure for you to more understand. Alright? Interrogative, we have did plus subject plus infinitive. Alright? Did plus subjects can be either singular or plural, and you can add on to your verb. Alright. Let's have a look at the example. Did they visit London last year? Yes, they did. The answer. Did Kate walk to school? No, she didn't. Is the answer. Now, let's have a look at one of the exercises of questions form. The instruction, write WH questions for the statement below. Given the statement, and you have to write the questions form. Example given, Sam washed the car. So the question form will be, why did Sam wash the car? Let's try number 2. They ate dinner. So, the answer is, where did they eat dinner? Alright, for the ate verb, you have to change to eat, the regular form. And so on, you have to do it on your own. This is the example of questions for the advanced level student. Given here, the words or the sentence are jumbled up. Night, you, wash, did, TV last? So all you have to do is rearrange in a questions form. Did you watch TV last night? Alright, let's try number 2. We have do, did, you, weekend, last, what? So the answer is, we have to start with what. Then, what did you do last weekend? Alright, that's how you do it.